All right, welcome back to Valuable Coaching. We're lucky today to have the Houston Volleyball Academy Girls Club Director, Chien Lee, on with us. And he's going to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about his background.
Thanks, guys, for having me on the show. So it's been a journey. I started out as a beach player, actually. There was a sand volleyball pit that was literally connected to the dorm that I was at. And we used to go out there from 10 p.m. at night to 3 a.m. in the morning, just playing, not knowing what we were doing. And then at some point in time, I realized that I needed to pay for college. So saw this flyer on the wall and it said manager needed for the volleyball program. So went in and just didn't know what was going to happen. Started setting up nets for a couple of years, but ultimately became a really good experience because I felt like that my journey to become a coach was completely different than everybody else's. Most of the people that you see were players that ended up getting to a pretty high level. They got out of playing, decided they want to continue on with volleyball and pursued a career coaching. And there's probably for those people a distortion of coaching volleyball than being coached. And there was that transition period that they had to go through. I actually went through a period where I was actually allowed to be mentored by people who were actively trying to help me become a better coach. And so I started out just setting up nets for a couple of years, had a conversation with the first assistant, said like, hey, I really want to get into coaching. And from that point on out, I started to get into club coaching just as a roaming coach. And then from there, just became a director of coaches and just kept moving on, so on and so on, until I retired, actually. And recently met up with Eric after a 3-year hiatus, and he decided that he wanted me to come and consult. And after consulting, they asked if I could stay on for a little bit to direct the girls program, which is a relatively new program for HVA, because HVA is predominantly a boys program in Houston, and they started a girls program about 4 years ago. And this is a new program in an area that's dominated by a lot of big programs. So it's been a journey for sure, and but we'll get there.
Great. That's some of the most fun I had playing volleyball in college. Actually, was not even just playing on the volleyball team, was going and playing at the court that's by the dorm. So it's cool to hear that that's a similar experience for other people. I also had the luxury of being a manager for Pacific as well, after I decided that playing was just going to be a little bit too time consuming. And that is a great way to start off if you're somebody who hasn't played and you're enjoying it. So, it's a cool way to be kind of part of the team and travel and see all the different sides of it, with, while getting paid in order to be able to make it through school. So that's great to hear. So what's it been like getting there and growing this girls program then?
This is the third program that I've taken on the responsibility of growing. It's tedious. It's redundant to some extent. The key really is to try to help temper the redundancy so that the girls or the boys don't get bored with what you're trying to do. Unfortunately, in order for you to get to where you are trying to get to, there is an element of training, and training is probably arguably the most boring part for especially boys, right? They want to get out there, they just want to hammer some balls. But it's really all about managing that from just years of experience and failing, right? I failed many, many, many years. Realize that that's really all you need to do is to help temper that for everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing, obviously, with being a director coach, you have a lot on your plate, a lot of admin, also coaching. What's the process that you do to instill to the parents and the coach and the student athletes that you're getting the best coaches around the Houston area? What's the process for you to picking your staff?
So that's actually a tricky question because we do things a little bit differently at HVA. traditionally in the traditional club environment, they come to try out, they get selected for a team, they're assigned a coach, and then pretty much off they go. There is some quality control within the club, meaning some clubs script their practices, right? So they hand out script for coaches to follow. Some clubs attempt set training. We coach by committee. So when the girl comes into our organization, they have at least 5 coaches. They have their position coach, they have their head coach, they have our director of operations, they have our age group coordinator, and they have me. And we are all hands-on involved in the coaching process. Because none of the coaches know the content that I want to deliver, it has nothing to do with the accuracy of what they know as coaches. I know that there's a wealth of knowledge for all the coaches coming through the door to try to coach with us. But unfortunately, there's no consistency if it's not coming from a single source. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources, the time, and the money to bring the coaches in sufficient time to teach them. So the way we've been doing it is until we get to a point where the coaches could be independent, I'm running the practices alongside with all the coaches. And so I'm actually involved in every single practice, helping trying to understand the direction where we're trying to go. But the content is not static. It's a very dynamic content. And it's basically based on concept rules. And what happens is the coaches are supposed to take that and then basically paint their own picture given the confines of those rules. So it's not like it's a scripted practice. Oh, we're doing serve receive now, we're doing this now. This is how you generally would do serve receive. This is how you connect it to this, and then they take it and then try to run with it. So we have maybe about 16 out of the 16 coaches that we have on the girls' side. I would say 3 or 4 of them are at that stage so that we really know that they've been trained to get to that point where they can be independent. And then the new coaches coming in, they're happy to stay onto the sidelines and learn until they really understand. And the parents were explained that in a parent meeting before the season started. And this year was kind of unique because no parents were in the gym just because of COVID. And so nobody really can see anything until they get to the tournament. So that way, we just really control. We have consistency, quality control. Information is the same. There's continuity, and there is layering of the information between the season from the beginning to the end, and also from age to age.
And that sounds like a great place to be able to get your start as a coach, to get a good foundation. I saw on your website you guys have some coaching clinics, and we've talked to a couple other club directors, and they may have a little bit more open-ended philosophy, but it does come down to them having some certain pillars that they want to meet. And we did talk about the fact, actually with one of the directors, we talked about the fact that he tries to have everybody coach different ages, so they at least have that kind of understanding of the fact that you do want some continuity. If you're coaching a 12-year-old and you're then hoping to coach him when he's 16, that that they understand what you're saying, and it's not a completely new language to learn. So I think that's a good way to go about it in developing those coaches, especially if you're a new club. You're probably are you getting a lot of younger, newer coaches because you're kind of a newer program in that area?
Absolutely. But there's pluses and minuses, right, to having a new coach. The minus is the experience level. But you're getting energy, you're getting that initial passion, right, with a young coach. And with a more experienced coach, you obviously have the experience, but sometimes those coaches are set in their ways, right? And they're not really open. If you really think about it, has volleyball really evolved and changed in the last 50 years? And I think that there is a lot of room for growth, but we tend to kind of stay within the confines of what we know. And we take the things that we've learned or that we've been told, and without truly understanding why we were told what we were told, we regurgitate that information back out to our players. And that just perpetuates this process of information that are passed, where initially the first time it was told, there was relevance. But then the 50th time it was told, it's a game of telephone, and that person don't really know what the purpose of that exercise or that information was for. and it just gets lost, right? And as a result, we just kind of start to do this cookie cutter process, where we start to just rely on the athleticism of the players versus developing players. There's a difference between, in my opinion, athleticism and like being a player, right? You can be both, but you can definitely only be athletic and also be very mental with the game. And I just feel like that we need to have that fine balance, with coaching and break out of the system, which is very difficult because we are in a very, very developed area of volleyball. I would say West Coast and Texas are probably the hot spots for volleyball in the nation. The Midwest is actually growing a lot as well. So it's really hard to bring new ideas into a very developed community.
Yeah, I noticed that your club is stacked with all kinds of programs. You got your boys program, you got your boys beach, you got your girls beach, you got your girls indoor, you got some youth for under middle school, which is really impressive to see. Talk to me a little bit about what's your guys' process of getting student athletes to maybe get to the next level going to college. I noticed you talked earlier that you have a committee of coaches and one's a college recruiting coordinator. When a child enters your club, what are they getting to experience to maybe get to that next level? And are you guys coaching them up and training them so that they know what it takes to be a college athlete?
So the unfortunate thing and the reality of it is a lot of players actually are not necessarily interested. And here's the background. The volleyball world in Texas has been so saturated that there is a high percentage of players that are coming into club purely either to spend more time with their friends, be active, get ready for high school season. And then you do have a select few who are coming in who really wants to play at the next level. And that number could be bigger. The problem is some of those girls coming in are also not confident with themselves, and therefore they don't think they're good enough, and therefore they don't pursue it, meaning they don't come to us and let us know like, hey, I really want to go to the next level. So step one is really to build that confidence, right? To number one, help the people who are there for the wrong reasons understand why they're there, and then they need to make a decision. Am I here for this or am I here for that? Once they make their decision, then we can help them be more confident in what they're doing so that they feel that they're ready to pursue something for college, because it is something that you have to work on, right? It's not something you snap your fingers and then, oh, okay, here's some offers that I can go ahead and call these coaches and I'm good to go. You have to go and you have to make your skills video. You have to go and film all your matches. You have to be in contact with all the coaches. You have to do your research with the colleges to make sure that they're even recruiting positions that you play for, et cetera, stuff like that. It's a lot that goes into it. Some people actually hire recruiting services, right, to do that, which costs a lot of money. So our job, number one, is to help them realize their potential and then help them realize that no matter the level of competition that they're at, no matter how good or bad they think they are, if they want to play somewhere, there is a place, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, there's somewhere for you. It's just a matter of identifying that in terms of your passion, your interest level, and then we will help you and guide you towards finding the right fit for you. Not everybody has to play D1, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked to a recruiting coordinator actually this past week, and it is interesting. Everybody has slightly different philosophy, but I love the idea that you're building confidence in these girls, because that's something that as a high school girls coach that I've struggled with, is just them sometimes lacking that confidence or that understanding, like you just said, that there's multiple levels that they can go play at. It doesn't have to be a Division I, and if that's really where they want to go to school, then that's fine. But if they really do feel like they want to pursue playing, that they have options. So I think that is a good way about going about it. And I don't know, to me, it's a little bit refreshing to hear that there are some girls that are just wanting to go play to be ready for high school season and want to be with friends. Because I don't know, I find out here too often some of the girls are just they feel like they have to play club in order to be able to play high school season, and it just, that to me seems too bad, because that's going to exclude a lot of people, because club can be kind of it's an investment for a family. So if it's one thing if they're doing it to invest in their future or to get better, but if they're investing to be able to play high school ball, that seems like a large scale investment. So a big thank you to Coach Lee for coming on with us. It was great. I reached out to Houston Volleyball Academy, and they were very excited to be able to come on the show. And I think they're very excited about the growth that they have happening there in Houston. It's a big city, a lot of clubs, and they're trying to make their mark. And I think, as we saw in this part of the interview, Coach Lee is definitely doing that. And tomorrow he's going to talk a little bit about how he's going to work on growing the program and kind of what their aspirations are. But like I was saying, it's great to hear that there's clubs out there that are still pushing to just help kids enjoy the game and get better. So come back, listen tomorrow, and find out where Houston Volleyball Academy is going to be headed here in the upcoming months and years. Hey, check out our sponsors, One Stone Apparel, onestoneapparel.com. They make great apparel for camps, clinics, physical education, whatever your needs might be, even uniforms if you need them. Talk to Dave at One Stone Apparel.